If he pulls away every time you get close, this is for you. Not because you did something wrong, but because you might be sending the exact texts that make an avoidant shut down completely. And today, that stops. Because there are 4 specific texts that actually work on avoidant men. Not tricks, not manipulation, real communication that speaks directly to how their brain is wired. And by the end of this, you will know exactly what to send, when to send it, and why it works when everything else has failed. Stay with me, because the third one is the one most women never think to send, and it might be the most powerful of all. Before we go further, if you have ever felt confused by a man who seems interested 1 minute and completely gone the next, comment the word clarity below. Just that one word. It tells me you are here, and it helps this reach more women who need it. And if you want more content like this, make sure you are subscribed, because we go deep on this stuff every single week. Now let us talk about what is actually happening inside the mind of an avoidant man. Because you cannot write the right text if you do not understand the person reading it. An avoidant man did not become avoidant because he is cold or broken or incapable of love. He became avoidant because at some point in his life, usually early on, he learned that getting close to people was dangerous. Not physically dangerous, emotionally dangerous. He learned that needing someone meant getting hurt, that expressing his feelings led to rejection or overwhelm or abandonment. So he did what any smart human does when something causes pain. He built a wall. He became self-sufficient. He told himself he did not need anyone. And for a long time, that wall protected him. But here is the thing about avoidant men that most women completely miss. They still feel. They still want connection. They still get lonely. They still fall for people. They are not robots. They are not emotionally dead. They are terrified. Underneath all that distance and independence and I need space is a person who wants to be loved just as much as anyone else. He just cannot let himself show it without feeling like he is losing something fundamental about himself. And when a woman texts him in a way that feels like pressure, like she is trying to pull him closer, like she needs something from him, his nervous system treats it like a threat. Not because she did anything wrong, because his brain has been conditioned to interpret closeness as danger. So he retreats, he goes quiet, he pulls away. And the woman is sitting there wondering what she said, what she did, why he suddenly disappeared. This is the cycle that destroys what could have been something real. And it happens not because the connection is not there, it happens because the communication does not match his wiring. So what does match his wiring? What actually reaches an avoidant man in a way that does not trigger his defenses? That is exactly what we are getting into right now. Text number 1 is what I call the no pressure check-in. Most women, when they feel a man pulling away, do one of 2 things. They either go quiet too, hoping he notices and comes back, or they reach out with something that has a lot of emotional weight behind it. Something like, "Are we okay?" Or, "I feel like you have been distant lately." Or, "I miss you. Can we talk?" And look, those feelings are completely valid. Wanting to know where you stand is completely reasonable. But to an avoidant man, those texts feel like a summons. They feel like something is expected of him, something heavy, something that requires him to open up and be vulnerable and explain himself. And that is exactly when he disappears. The no pressure check-in is the opposite of that. It is a message that says, "I thought of you," without any weight attached to it. No expectation, no question buried underneath, no emotional demand hiding behind casual words. It is a text that reaches out and immediately lets him off the hook. Here is what that looks like. "Saw something today that made me think of you. Totally random, but it made me smile. Full stop. Nothing else. No, hope you are okay. No, haven't heard from you in a while. No question mark at the end waiting for an answer. Just a light, easy moment shared with no strings attached. Why does this work? Because it does not require anything from him. He can respond or not respond. He can engage or he cannot. And because there is no pressure, his nervous system does not go into defense mode. He reads it and he feels something. He thinks about you. He smiles maybe. And he does not feel trapped by it. That combination, being thought of without being pressured, is incredibly attractive to an avoidant man because it is so rare. Most people who care about him eventually want something from him. You gave him something with zero expectation of return. That stands out in a way he cannot fully explain. The mistake most women make is adding one sentence too many. They send a sweet thought and then they cannot help themselves. They add, "Anyway, how are things with you?" Or, "I know you have been busy, but I would love to catch up when you get a chance." And the moment that second sentence arrives, the whole energy shifts. Now it has a pull to it. Now there is an ask embedded in it. And his walls go right back up. Send a thought, stop, let it sit. That is the move. Now there is a version of this text that is slightly more advanced, and it works even better when you have already established some history with him. Instead of something generic, it references something specific to the two of you. An inside joke, a place you went together, something he mentioned once that stuck with you. Just walked past that terrible coffee place you made me try. Still cannot believe you called that good coffee. That is it. Short, specific, warm, zero pressure. And what it does is remind him of a moment between you two without making him feel like you are keeping score or holding on to something. It just says, "You exist in my memory in a good way." And that is powerful. Text number 2 is what I call the independence signal. Avoidant men are fundamentally attracted to people who do not need them. That sounds harsh, but it is not about being cold or unavailable. It is about being a whole person who has a full life, who is not waiting around for his attention, who is genuinely okay with or without him on any given day. The reason avoidant men find this so attractive is because it removes the thing they fear most, which is responsibility. Avoidant men often feel at a subconscious level that if someone gets close to them, they become responsible for that person's emotional well-being. And that feels suffocating. That is the cage they are always trying to avoid. But when a woman signals that she is completely fine on her own, that her happiness does not depend on him showing up, suddenly he is not a prisoner. He is a choice. And that changes everything. So what does the independence signal look like in a text? It looks like something real happening in your life that has nothing to do with him. Not performed, not strategic, actually real. Had the most incredible afternoon. Tried this new hiking trail and completely lost track of time. My kind of Saturday. Or, been deep in this book all weekend. I forgot how much I love just disappearing into a story. Or, just got back from visiting my sister. My face hurts from laughing. These texts paint a picture of a woman with a rich interior life. A woman who does interesting things. A woman who feels things deeply. A woman who is not sitting by her phone. And here is the thing. You are not sending these to make him jealous. You are not performing happiness. You are actually living your life and occasionally sharing a piece of it with him. That distinction matters because women who try to perform independence usually overcorrect. They become too distant, too cool, too unavailable. And avoidants can feel the performance. What they cannot resist is the real thing. The independent signal also works because it gives him permission to feel excited about you. When a woman is always available, always responsive, always waiting, there is nothing to be curious about. But when she has a whole life unfolding, when she mentions something interesting without fully explaining it, when she is clearly not waiting for his reply, he wants to know more. He wants to be part of what she has going on. He starts to move toward her instead of away. The key is to resist the urge to invite him into the text. Do not send, "Had an amazing hike today, you should come with me next time." That invites, which puts pressure on him to respond to an offer. Just share the moment. Let him sit with the image of you out in the world, fully alive, not needing anything from him. That image will stay with him longer than any invitation. Text number 3 is the one most women never think to send, and this is the one I promised you was the most powerful. It is what I call the genuine appreciation text. Not flattery, not telling him how amazing he is or how much you adore him. Specific, real, observed appreciation for something he actually did or said. Something that shows you were paying attention. Here is why this is so powerful for avoidant men specifically. Avoidant men grew up in emotional environments where they did not feel truly seen, where their inner world was dismissed or minimized, where they learned to keep things to themselves because sharing led to nothing good. So they stopped sharing. They stopped expecting anyone to really notice them beneath the surface. They became very good at being impressive and very guarded about being known. When someone sees past the surface and notices something real, it bypasses every wall they have built, because those walls are not designed to keep out appreciation. They are designed to keep out demands and expectations and emotional weight. But a genuine, "I noticed this about you, and it meant something to me," does not trigger the defense system. It slips right through. What does this look like? I was thinking about what you said last week about why you got into your work. It stuck with me. There is something about the way you talk about the things you actually care about that is really different. Or, you were so patient with that situation the other day. I noticed it and I just wanted to say it. Or, something you mentioned months ago randomly popped into my head today. You probably do not even remember saying it, but it made a real impact on me. These texts do something extraordinary to an avoidant man. They make him feel safe. Not safe like trapped. Safe like he does not have to perform. Safe like he can be himself, and that is actually enough. Maybe even more than enough. And that feeling, for a man who has spent most of his life believing he has to be useful or impressive or independent to be worth anything, that feeling is profoundly moving. He will not necessarily respond with a flood of emotion. Avoidants rarely do, but he will feel it. And he will think about you differently after receiving a text like that, because most people in his life either want something from him or are impressed by something obvious. You just showed him that you see something most people miss. That is intimacy without pressure. That is connection without demand. That is the thing his nervous system has always wanted and his mind has never known how to let himself have. The rule here is specificity. The more specific your appreciation, the more powerful it is. "You are so kind" is generic and slightly suffocating. The way you handled that thing with your colleague, just quietly making sure they were okay without making a big deal of it, that is rare, is specific, and it shows you were actually watching. He cannot dismiss specific. He can dismiss generic because it feels like it could be said to anyone. But specific means you chose to notice him in particular, and that is intoxicating. Text number 4 is what I call the open door, and it might be the most strategically brilliant text on this list because it does something that seems impossible. It creates intimacy while simultaneously removing pressure. Here is the context for when you send this. He has gone quiet. You have not heard from him in a few days, maybe more. You can feel the distance. Your instinct is to reach out and address it directly, to ask what is going on, to express how you feel about the silence. And every bit of that is understandable. But with an avoidant man, that direct confrontation of the silence almost always makes it worse. He feels cornered. He feels like he is in trouble. He feels like he is failing you. And so he retreats further. The open door text does the opposite. It does not ignore the silence exactly. It just holds space for him without making him explain himself. It says, "I am here when you want to be," without saying, "Where have you been?" It acknowledges that he has his own inner world without demanding entry into it. And it leaves the door open without forcing him through it. Here is what it sounds like. "No rush on anything. Just wanted you to know I am around." That is it. 7 words after a comma. But the message it sends is enormous. It says, I have not disappeared because you went quiet. It says, I am not punishing you with my own silence. It says, you can come back when you are ready and I will not make it weird. And for an avoidant man who is used to people either chasing him when he pulls away or disappearing in anger, this is completely disorienting in the best possible way. It removes the guilt, because avoidant men, contrary to what people think, do feel guilt when they pull away. They feel guilty and they feel overwhelmed by the guilt, and so they stay away even longer to avoid confronting it. When you send a message that essentially releases them from that guilt, that says no pressure, no score to settle, they feel something shift. And often it is precisely this kind of message that brings them back. There is a longer version of the open door text that works beautifully when the connection is more established. I know you have been in your head lately. No need to explain or apologize. I just wanted to check in and let you know that however much or little space you need, I am not going anywhere. When you are ready, I am here. This is a text that requires some history and some real emotional security on your end to send, because you have to mean it. You cannot send it hoping it will fix things in 24 hours. You send it because it is true, because you actually understand that he needs time and you are genuinely okay with that. If it comes from manipulation or performance, he will feel it. But if it comes from a place of real security, it is one of the most powerful messages you can send to an avoidant man. Now let us talk about the thread that connects all four of these texts, because there is one. And once you see it, you will understand not just what to send, but how to be in a way that completely changes the dynamic with an avoidant man. Every single one of these texts has one thing in common. They give without asking for anything back. They reach without pulling. They offer without demanding. They connect without trapping. They are all expressions of emotional security. And emotional security is without question the single most attractive quality to an avoidant man, because it is the one thing he has almost never encountered in a relationship. Think about his history for a second. Every person who has gotten close to him has eventually made demands, has needed something from him emotionally, has pushed for more, faster, deeper. And he has run every time because his nervous system told him that more equals less freedom equals trapped equals danger. But someone who is genuinely secure, who wants him but does not need him, who cares but does not cling, who stays but does not pressure, that person confuses him in the most wonderful way, because he keeps waiting for the catch and there is no catch. He keeps waiting for the emotional demand and it never comes. And that is when he starts to wonder, quietly, to himself, if maybe this could be safe. If maybe this is different. That wondering is the beginning of everything. But I want to be honest with you about something, because this is important and you deserve the full picture. These texts are tools. They are genuinely effective tools, especially when used with authenticity and care. But they are not a solution if the underlying dynamic is not being addressed. If you are with someone who is avoidant to the point of being unavailable, if he never initiates, if he always disappears for long stretches, if he cannot have a single vulnerable conversation, no matter how safe you make it, texts are not going to transform that. You can be the most perfectly emotionally regulated woman in the world, and some avoidant men are simply not ready. Some are actively working against their own healing, and no amount of the right words will open a door that someone is actively holding shut from the inside. This is not said to discourage you. It is said because the most important thing you can do for yourself, more important than any of these four texts, is to maintain your own sense of worth regardless of his response. You are not a puzzle to be solved by him. You are not a test he is administering to see if you are patient enough, or cool enough, or low maintenance enough. You are a full human being who deserves someone who, even if he struggles with intimacy, is actively trying to move toward you. Not someone who is content to keep you at arm's length indefinitely. The four texts work beautifully when there is real potential there, when he feels something but his defenses are getting in the way. They are bridges across a gap that can be crossed. What they cannot do is build the will to cross in someone who does not have it. So as you use what you have learned today, keep checking in with yourself. Not just, is he responding, but how do I feel in this? Is there movement, even slow movement? Is there warmth, even if it comes in small doses? Is there something real here beneath the push and pull? If yes, then give it time, and give it these tools, and give it the patience that avoidant men genuinely need to learn how to trust. If no, if it has been months of silence, followed by crumbs, followed by more silence, then the most important thing you can do is not find the perfect text. It is to be honest with yourself about what you actually deserve. And what you deserve is someone who, whatever his wiring, is choosing you. Maybe imperfectly, maybe slowly, but choosing. And you will know the difference when you feel it. Now let us go a little deeper into the mindset behind all of this. Because what makes or breaks your use of these texts is not the words themselves. It is the energy you bring to them. The place inside you that they come from. Because an avoidant man's nervous system is incredibly finely tuned to the difference between authentic and performed. Between genuinely secure and strategically appearing secure. He has spent his whole life reading people for signs of what they actually want beneath what they are presenting. That is a survival skill for someone whose emotional needs were not reliably met. And he is very, very good at it. So if you are sending the no pressure check-in, but secretly counting the minutes until he responds, he will feel that energy even across a screen. If you are sending the independence signal, but staying home and doing nothing and feeling increasingly anxious about his silence, the performance will leak into the words somehow. Energy finds its way through even when we think we have disguised it. This is why the real work is not about memorizing four texts. The real work is about building the place inside yourself from which those texts can be sent with complete genuineness. The work is about actually cultivating your own life so richly that you genuinely are fine when he is quiet. The work is about actually seeing him clearly enough that your appreciation is real and specific. The work is about actually being secure enough in who you are and what you offer that you can hold the door open without white-knuckling it. That kind of woman, the one who has done that internal work, does not just send better texts. She creates an entirely different experience for an avoidant man. She becomes genuinely different from every other relationship he has had. And that difference is what makes him reconsider everything he thought he knew about what closeness feels like. He starts to notice that being around her does not cost him anything, that she does not drain him, that when they talk, he feels clearer, not more obligated. That when she reaches out, he does not dread it. That her presence in his life adds something rather than demanding something. And slowly, tentatively, the walls come down. Not because she tore them down, but because he started to wonder what was on the other side. That is the relationship you can build with these tools and with this mindset. Not by being less of yourself, but by being so fully yourself, so grounded, so alive, so real, that his defenses simply run out of reasons to stay up. One more thing before we close, and this is something that almost never gets said in conversations about avoidant men. You also have attachment patterns. Everyone does. And if you find yourself consistently, repeatedly drawn to avoidant men, if this particular dynamic feels familiar in a way that goes beyond coincidence, that is worth sitting with. Not as a criticism, as information. Because often, anxious attachment and avoidant attachment are magnetically drawn to each other in ways that feel like chemistry, but are actually two wound systems recognizing each other. The anxious person's urgency feels like passion to the avoidant. The avoidant's withdrawal feels like a challenge to the anxious. And they chase each other in circles until both are exhausted. If that sounds at all familiar, the most powerful thing you can do is not find the perfect text for him. It is do your own work alongside his. Look at where your anxiety in relationships comes from. Look at why the pull of unavailability feels so compelling. Not to fix yourself because you are not broken, but to understand yourself. Because when you understand yourself clearly, you make different choices. You stop accepting crumbs and calling them a feast. You stop working so hard to earn the attention of someone who makes you earn it. And you start recognizing the men who are actually available, actually warm, actually trying, not as boring, but as exactly what you have always deserved. This is the full picture. Not just how to text an avoidant man, but how to show up for yourself while you are figuring out whether he is worth showing up for. The 4 texts work. Use them. And use them from a place of real power, real clarity, real security. Not as a strategy to catch him, but as an expression of who you already are when you are at your most grounded. Because that woman, the grounded one, the secure one, the one who has her own life and her own joy and her own clear sense of what she will and will not accept, that woman does not need a strategy. She is the strategy, and no avoidant man alive can stay indifferent to her for long.